Joining me now is foreign editor at The Australian, Greg Sheridan. Greg, Chinese leaders are furious at the decision by Penny Wong and Richard Marles to go to Japan last week for discussions on increased security cooperation between our two countries. The visit to Japan came just a couple of days after a huge military parade was staged by China. Beijing's anger came to light with an editorial in the state-run China Daily, which read, what they've done by elevating their so-called special strategic partnership is actually stirring up tensions. And it went on to say that Japanese senior ministers didn't stop at just parroting their hackneyed China-targeted phrases from the playbook of the United States. So here's my question, Greg. When the Chinese parade their military hardware, well, that's peaceful. But when we talk to our friends about how to defend ourselves in the event they ever use that hardware against us, well, we're the ones stirring up tensions.
Yes, James, great to be with you. That's right. The hypocrisy of the Chinese state here, the People's Republic of China, is boundless. They dislike our strategic partnership with Japan. They also dislike that Australia-Japan joint communiques typically will say two things. One, that we reaffirm our long-held position that there should be no unilateral change to the status of Taiwan. That means China should not, the PRC should not take military action against Taiwan. And two, that we urge the PRC to stop, provocative, inflammatory and illegal, often, incursions into Japanese air and maritime space with their own military assets. So the PRC makes very provocative air and naval incursions into Japanese waters and airspace. And somehow or other, that's all normal. But if we and the Japanese make a communique about it, we're the worst people in the world. But the final thought, James, is all of this means, obviously, we should have a formidable defence force, and we certainly don't have that. So if the worst thing we do to annoy Beijing is issue communiques, they don't really have much to be worried about.
I've got to say, though, Greg, I'm surprised at China's reaction because I thought after the PM's trip to China, we would have a special kind of relationship with Beijing where they wouldn't get upset by these things.
No, well, Beijing doesn't really do that. It demands subservience and will occasionally give you a pat in the head for subservience. But as subservient as you are, it's never subservient enough. And the Albanese government is one of many governments to discover this. So we have taken the Chinese ambassador's advice and the Beijing government's advice. We have not increased our defence budget above the 2% of GDP. There's been a dollar increase, but not above the 2% of GDP. So we've rejected Donald Trump and Washington's request that we pull our weight in defence. We've accepted Beijing's advice. That's the most important thing we could do in Beijing's favour. The government, of course, would say we didn't make this decision to please Beijing, but that's what they want. They want to see us with no weapons. And that's not enough. That's not enough. Anthony Albanese will never say boo to a goose about Beijing, won't criticise them under any circumstances, but that's not enough. Just merely maintaining the normal relations that we have with Japan and with the Philippines and so forth is enough to earn their ire. And that's the pattern with Beijing. You know, they are classic bullies, and the more you give into them, the more you're going to get bullied in the future.
And like you say, we're now well and truly into that pattern. Disturbing satellite images have come to light which appear to show China building new naval and air bases for an invasion of Taiwan. The images show new berths for warships in an airport along the country's eastern coast. This comes after months of speculation that China is preparing to mount an attack soon. What do we know about these bases, and do they tell us anything about a timeline for a potential attack on Taiwan?
Well, we know that the PRC has been preparing to take military action against Taiwan for a long time. That doesn't mean they necessarily will. If they could possibly win Taiwan without military action, they would do that. So they would like to intimidate and bluff Taiwan. At the same time, they are really building military capabilities which make all kinds of military operations against Taiwan possible. I mean, probably the least likely is a straight-out invasion. Very difficult to invade Taiwan, very choppy waters and sheer cliffs and so on, very, very difficult terrain to invade. But the the PRC has been, building technology to cope with that. On the other hand, they could blockade Taiwan. They could render it into rubble with missile barrages. And the only thing that prevents them from doing that is American military power and deterrence. But Donald Trump, really, there was a headline in the American press the other day, does the world any longer take Donald Trump seriously? This Taco syndrome, Trump always chickens out. I mean, how many times has he warned Vladimir Putin, who just keeps on bombing and shelling and murdering and killing Ukrainians, and nothing happens? So Trump has said once more, oh gosh, I'm considering tougher sanctions, but I'm just going to have another talk to Vladimir Putin. Well, Putin will tell him he's the best looking president he's ever seen and he should get the Nobel Peace Prize and whatever. And Trump will purr along and do nothing. And this again, I don't want to sound like a broken record, but the lesson out of all this is that everybody, Taiwan, Australia, all American allies, should have the maximum military capability of their own so that they have the maximum possible response capabilities, because under Trump, we just don't know whether America would come to our aid or not. Now, America can come to your aid short of sending combat troops, as it's done in Ukraine. It can send you material and economic aid and weapons and so forth, and that's absolutely vital. And, of course, intelligence aid. Like the Ukrainians, we couldn't fire a single weapon if we didn't have American intelligence telling us where the targets are. But it's a very, very uncertain world, and the Taiwanese have been slow to get their own defences organised, but they're going at 1,000,000 miles an hour now. And we have been, of course, criminally, insanely slow to do anything about our own defence. And we'll have a national debate in this country about anything except that.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you, Greg. The message is loud and clear. It just doesn't seem like our government is listening. Greg Sheridan, always great to talk to you. Thanks for your time this evening.